Om Brahmanandam Paramasugadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum. So, since today is an introductory session, I just want to ask you, why are you here? What is this? I'm not saying you should not have come. I'm just asking you, because there are so many people, different kinds of people, people who have known me for many years. Tamil solunuma. Then what about people who don't know Tamil? So I'll continue with English, sorry. Otherwise I have to talk English, to talk Russian, to talk... Stick to one language, okay. If I say anything in between in Tamil or Sanskrit, I will explain to you. Yeah. So, there are people here who've known me for many years and who have, I don't know, not changed. Sorry. There are people who have known me for years but have slightly changed and are in the process of changing. There are people who are new who must have sometimes already changed before coming to me. I don't know. You see what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to figure out why you're all sitting here. What's so special? I'm sitting here on this and everybody's looking at me. What do you expect? What do you do? So, let's have a good dialogue about this. To start with this first chapter, let's have a good dialogue. Do you notice that many people think that my mind is somewhere else? And yet, I can make out when somebody changes the shape of their glass frames. So, what is the sign of a person who, hopefully, if I'm not bluffing, touched something other than the ordinary? Or is that thing I touched ordinary, but people look for special things so they don't find it? Shall I ask an individual person, why are you here? Shall I? Not a general statement. Nobody is willing to speak. Throughout this satsang that we are going to have, at the end of it, we will have a dialogue. Okay, why? Because I don't want to push things into your head and you just accept it and go home. We have good friends who have done that for many years and continue with the same. So which is why it's important to have why? Am I right? You're coming for the first time. You're young, right? You can make out. Okay. So, and I must say before we go ahead, that I'm very happy to see young people sitting here. Because although we, with our grey hair, have gone through many experiences in life and perhaps learned many things, the young are the ones who should begin to think that there are different ways of thinking other than the ordinary. So when they come, I'm really very, very happy. College students, school students, people who have gone beyond school and college. Otherwise, our satsangs will be confined only to the grey-haired ones. Now, my hair is grey, you can see it, right? I'm 73 years old. 73 years young. So, but my mind, as far as I can see it, is quite like your mind. It has not become old. You know why? because I flow, I move, I don't stick, I flow. It's not you see, you have a small pool in your house at the backyard. If it doesn't flow, there, what happens to it? Tell me, you tell me. Young man, yes. It becomes stagnant. It becomes stagnant, then mosquitoes are created in it, worms come into it, all kinds of things happen because there is no flow. So, we are very reluctant to allow the flow to happen. We like to keep it stagnant and allow it to become full of worms. Now this is as long as life is concerned. Don't keep it stagnant, move. What I'm trying to say is to look at different angles of life. This is the meaning of the last word, last syllable of the Upanishads, Shad. Shad also means to sit. Literal meaning is to sit down. We're all sitting down. Physically, yes, but I don't know if the mind is sitting down, but physically, yes, we are sitting down. That's one meaning. It also means that the mind has to settle down, to sit down. Apart from that, if you read the commentaries of Adi Shankara, you'll find that the word, because he is an expert in Sanskrit, so grammar and so on, he said Shad also means to shake up. To shake up from what? From the status quo. To shake up from where we are stuck. Because if we don't shake up, we can't move. There are different ways of looking at life. For instance, you say that I am sitting here and it's real and you're sitting there. It is real, right? Otherwise, why would you come here? It's not. I am saying it's not real. What do you say? Neither am I sitting here nor are you sitting there. You say this is stupid, how can it be? Because we are sitting here and I am sitting here. So, even if you attempt to understand what I said just now, it's a shaking up of the status quo of thinking, of saying what we believe and what we see is the only truth. There's nothing beyond it. We are saying, when I say we, I'm using plural, because not only me, there are many, some of us at least, who are saying that no, madam, no, sir, actually what you think may be completely different from what is. Also, suppose I am communicating with you. Please, I am only speaking in English, but it is Vedanta, please understand. I am not using the word specifically. I want these young people also to understand what you are saying. But the thing is, if you really present what is real, nobody wants to take it. If you present what is pleasant, everybody wants to take it. What is real may not be pleasant. And what is pleasant, therefore, may not be real. There are some realities which are also pleasant. I'm not saying no. But usually, we are seeking what is pleasant. We are not seeking what is real, unfortunately. So, for instance, you and I are thinking that we are communicating with each other, right? At least that much we are thinking. I'm asking this question. When you say you are communicating with me, and when I say I'm communicating with you, what is a satsanga? Communication between people. Sangha means coming together of a group of people looking for the sat, for the truth. This is satsanga. Anybody differing in this matter? What is a satsang? Sat is the truth. may be different from what we think is the truth, we leave that aside. Truth. Sangha as a group of people, a sangha, coming together, trying to find this truth. This is satsanga. Therefore, we need to communicate to understand this, right? Between you and me. Now, I'm going to tell you something interesting. You might have already found it, perhaps in your own way. You, most of you, many of you, have read my autobiography, perhaps. Perhaps. Or if you have not read, I'm happy. You read my autobiography. Many of you might have seen my YouTubes. But please remember, this is the iTube, not the YouTube. You read? You've seen the YouTube. So what has happened, that when you come, you already have an idea about me, right? Opinion about me. This must be this guy who went off to the Himalayas or came back from there, had some strange experiences. You can call it extraordinary or strange, it depends on who's looking at it. And so you've formed an opinion, and perhaps he knows. You don't know really if I know, but yeah, reading the YouTube and looking at the autobiography, oh, this guy knows something. You formed an opinion about myself. You formed an image about me. Sometimes people form an image and I go in there wearing a shirt and a dhoti and they're shocked, who's this guy? So, there's no paraphernalia. This also I put on because I'm in Tamil Nadu. So, you have formed an image about it. Now, me, when I enter, people I know for a long time, I have already formed an image, don't worry about that. But people who are there for the first time, I see them, the way they are dressed, the way they are, and I have some images formed. And the way they are looking. So, what is the meaning of this communication between you and me? Your image about me, my image about you are communicating. There is no communicating between you and me, really. These are two images communicating. And according to the Upanishads, the Vedanta, true communication is when all images are dropped. Not easy. Right? Not easy. So these are some of the things that we are going to look into seriously. Because I know whatever be your opinion or image, I think you are serious. This is certain. Otherwise, why would you come here? Unless you came to enjoy the seashore. I mean, there is some seriousness there, certainly. I agree with that. So therefore, these are the issues that we have. I see people who have come all the way from Thailand and Hong Kong sitting here. And from Dubai. So where, just to see me, I'm not going to have a song and dance. So everybody is dancing nowadays, which is good. Good for health. So these are some of the issues that we are going to look into. They are very serious matters. We need to look into this. Please be free to ask questions and discuss whenever you want. Please remember that it is a discussion and not an argument. Right? You know, the very well-known shloka that we chant before a satsang, before a meeting, before a bhajan. You must have heard it number of times, but may not have thought about what it means. Unfortunately, Sanskrit is at a premium. Kulvarillai, nobody wants to take it. According to Ramalinga Swamigal, Kolvarilai. Nobody wants to take it. In fact, there are many Sanskrit Pandits roaming around because they can't find a job. That is the situation. So, you might have heard this several times, but you may not know what is being said. The sloka is, now you will say, oh, this I have heard. Om. Let's not go into Om, because the whole satsang for a day will be Om. Let's say Om as the pranava. Om Sahana vavatu, Sahana bhunaktu, Sahaviryam karavavahai, Tejasvina vaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. This is the chant. Now, please notice that the last sentence, I was referring to that. Ma vidvishavahai, which means we are having a dialogue, we are not having an argument. Therefore, let us not quarrel with each other. You know the difference between a dialogue and an argument. Argument means I have come to a conclusion. You have come to a conclusion. We are talking. You are trying to prove your conclusion. I am trying to prove my conclusion. This is called an argument. What is a dialogue? You and I are trying to think together and solve a problem. This is a dialogue. Even in a text like the Bhagavad Gita, which Vyasa declares is a samvaad. Krishna Arjuna samvade, it's a samvaad. Even though Krishna talks most of the time, like I do, you are not talking. And Arjuna talks only here and there. But remember that every now and then Arjuna butts in and says, hey, just a minute, I don't know, not these words of course. Can you please clarify? I don't get this. This is a dialogue. Arjuna is not trying to prove anything, he is studying something. And Krishna only in the Bhagavad Gita is a Jagat Guru, nowhere else. Everywhere else he is organizing a battle, he is working in politics, he is doing many things. In Vrindavan, you know what he is doing. People say, oh, we have read the Bhagavad. Say, which one? How much? Oh, the 10th canto. Only Vrindavan. Only in the Gita, Krishna becomes a Guru. And then therefore it's a dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna. This is exactly what I am trying to say. I am not Krishna, of course. Well, it could be Krishna. You can also be Krishna that way. So, and these are some of the important things, not my favorite things. These are some of my favorite things. No, these are some of the things that we are going to discuss seriously. I have one question. Did all the people who come here expect to take up or to get initiated into Kriya Yoga? No. No. How many takers? Seriously? And don't put up your hands. Those who have been initiated and who have not been practicing, don't put your hands. Yes, sir.
Two things. I think I'll answer the first question as to why I have come. Actually, don't know.
You don't know?
I've seen a lot of your YouTube videos, and there is there is a draw. If you ask me why, I have no idea.
Fair enough.
Of course, I live in Chennai, and it was there, and it was, I don't know, but I've come.
Fair enough. That's a good point.
And
I don't know why I've come, but I have seen your YouTube and so on. I felt that maybe I should come and maybe I could gain something. Okay, good enough. Okay.
And as far as Kriya Yoga is concerned, I'm not doing any meditation barring hum saw a little bit, and that also not seriously. So, in fact, I was talking to somebody here that I don't even know whether it's right for me. Is it good for me?
This is what I'm
it for
asking.
Me? Yeah. What does it do for me?
Yeah.
I just don't want to do it because it's the thing to do. But whether
everybody heard.
you know,
Good
whether
point.
whether I is it for me? And I have no idea actually. I have no idea what to expect, what to do. So it's just, I've come with a blank mind, an open mind, and this is the first of its kind ever for in my life. So honestly, there's a skeptic in me.
Nice.
It's so outside my comfort zone, right? That everything that I'm seeing is like, what's going on? What am I doing here? Have I got into a guru? What am I like?
Don't. That's the last thing we want to hear.
But I'm being as honest as I can, because these are all the questions running, and it's great that I've got this opportunity, because I was not even planning to say it, but I was dealing with it. So I'm just happy, because in fact some of the people that I spoke to, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Okay. Fine.
So sorry, but
no.
Yeah.
It's good. I just wanted to see what's happening. So, okay, good. So now, wait a minute. Since we mentioned Kriya and we invoked this, what he said, let me explain, because he says, I don't know whether I should take Kriya. So let me explain what it really means. Kriya is a word meaning a practice. Simple. In fact, any yogic practice is a Kriya, meaning it's a method. See, people load a word with many meanings, but the simple meaning of the word Kriya is some karikram, something that you are doing. And in this field, it is something to do with meditation, naturally, because we are looking at that. Yoga Shastra has innumerable Kriyas, many practices. Let's say, Bhastrika is a Kriya, Anulom Vilom, alternate breathing is a Kriya. The bandhas and the mudras are all Kriyas, different Kriyas. And this is very interesting, that the standard text which everybody refers to as the standard, the textbook on yoga, are the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Now, although it has 8 parts and therefore variously referred to as Ashtanga Yoga, nowhere in the Yoga Sutras does Patanjali himself use the word Ashtanga Yoga. In the Sadhana Pada, which is the second chapter, see, this is another important thing to note. There are 4 parts in the Yoga Sutras. The first is not practice. First is, what is the first? Samadhi. See, everybody knows. Samadhi Pada, which means why are we practicing? What is the reason? Where are we going? So it's very often what happens is there is premature practice. People start practice without why am I doing? What am I doing? So the first chapter is the Samadhi Pada, which is a graph or a Google map of where we are going. What is it that we are seeking? What is Samadhi? What is the meaning? And so on. Which means exploring consciousness, to put it in simple words. Simple but not so easy, but exploring consciousness. Then comes the second chapter, which is called Sadhana Pada. Sadhana Pada means that part where practice is discussed. And Patanjali defines this practice. He says, what I am going to tell you is, it includes Swadhyaya, self-study. Adhyaya is self-study, it also means study of the self. Swadhyaya, Ishvara pranidhanani, looking and trying to understand and surrendering to Ishvara, Ishvara pranidhanani. Then he says, the Kriya Yoga, this is Kriya Yoga. So therefore, if that is said in the Yoga Sutras, the entire Yoga Sutra is Kriya Yoga in some way. Because though it starts with a map of where we are going, then comes the practice. So therefore, any practice which is yogic is automatically a Kriya. But when I say Kriya, I am talking about also a particular practice, but which has come to me from a certain parampara, which is what I mean by Kriya Yoga. Therefore, there may be innumerable paramparas, innumerable Kriya practices, which may not be the same as what we are learning here, if somebody wants to learn. Plus, there is no compulsion that anybody has to learn Kriya after the satsang. My Guru, Maheshwarnath Babaji, used to always ask this question: which Kriya did Mirabai practice? Which Kriya? Nothing. And on the other hand, if you look at the intellectual or the Jnana Yoga side, what Kriya did Ramana Maharshi practice? Nothing. So it is not a requirement that you should be practicing some Kriya or this Kriya which comes from our parampara. Maybe people who can get there without Kriya. But that practice of even contemplating quietly is also considered a Kriya. Not particularly this Kriya, that's what I'm trying to say. So this is the answer to your question. So at the end of the satsanga, after, when is it ending? 2 days? 3, 2 tomorrow, day after? Three days, huh? 2.5. At the end of it, and the second, after 1.5 days have moved forward, you can decide, do I need to take Kriya or if I don't need to take Kriya? And it need not necessarily be this Kriya, it can be anything, if you want. But I personally feel that some kind of method is good to clear up the mind and open it to influence. This is my experience and my understanding.
We are qualified enough to judge that we need it.
When you finish listening to my description of Kriya and why we do Kriya, then you can understand whether we need it or not. The only qualification I would say is for someone who decides that I will regularly practice it. This is very important because Nairantarya Abhyasena are the proper words used. Regular practice. You know why? Because we are all accustomed to a certain way of thinking and a certain way of experiencing. Here we are trying to alter this a bit. The mind naturally runs into the other familiar circuit. So to take it out and put it in another circuit is not easy. So regular practice is essential. However, the ultimate aim is to get out of all circuits. This is very important. You don't get stuck to a circuit. You do it so that you are free of it afterwards. So you are handed some shapeless clay in your hands and you want to make an image out of that clay. So you need a mold. I mean, you can do with hands, but if you want a proper one, you need a mold. So your mold, is it mold or mold or what is it? Mold. So you have a mold. So you put your clay, you pack it inside nicely, and then you put the other side back on top and seal it. And then you fire it. After the image is ready, if you want to see the image, will you leave the mold there or will you take it out? Yes. So while the mold is essential, it also needs to be taken out. This is also an important point to note. And also, in this process of finding the essence, if you think you're going to find the essence, in this process of finding the essence, it is not so much as adding things as to taking them away. If you see a sculptor trying to make an image, say of Bhadrakali or Krishna or Shiva. There's a guy making out of granite, let's say. What does he do practically? He may sit on it, because it has not yet become God, right? He'll sit on it. And he'll have a chisel in his hand and a hammer. What is he practically doing? Removing what is not required. Is he adding anything there? Tell me. Or is he removing all that is not required so the image is there? Removing what is not required. Basically, the process is also this for us, that you remove all that is not required. And when not everything, then you come to a stage when you cannot remove anything more. You will suddenly find that the remover and the thing removed is not different. Then you stop, and that's it. Chipping away of what is superfluous is what is required to find that which is real. This is the Vedantic technique that Shankara also adopted, and the word used, some people don't like it because it sounds quite negative. Neti. Not this. Not this. Not this. At some point the not this will stop. You don't know where to go. You find that you can't negate anymore, because only the one who is negating remains. So it's the innegable substratum of after the negation of all tangible objects. This is what we are trying to look into. And Kriya merely is a way of clearing up the mind and balancing our pranas so that the mind opens up to things which are not ordinary. That's about it. Could be any Kriya for that matter.
So when I was actually very young, my family was associated with a teacher who does not have any banner or...
How old were you?
Sorry?
How old were you?
So I met him first when I was 9 years old.
How many years?
9. 9
okay.
or 10 years old.
Okay.
At that time. And then basically, yes, my father had a lot of sadhana and practices. But to me and my brother, like both of us sort of, felt that the spirituality was forced on us.
Forced on you?
Yes. So in a way, for a very long time, I considered myself to be an atheist. I said, look, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in this thing anymore. And, life circumstances and things like that happened. And then, like, since 2019, I was feeling this very weird something was missing in my life. I couldn't put a finger on it or say, what is this? Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I stopped eating meat and things. It was just...
For some reason?
Yes. Randomly, one day I just got up and said, I'm not eating meat anymore. Mm. And then in 2020, for some reason, something said, okay, why don't you meditate? I had no experience in this. There was no thing. And then within a few days, something happened. And I could not explain what it is. But pretty much, as I was sitting in that posture for over an hour, and then as I was breathing, I felt with every breath I was taking, I felt like my body was becoming lighter and lighter. And then after a point of time, there was some sort of separation, and all the pain in my legs and everything disappeared. And then I said, wait, if I'm this and that, there's this separation, then what is that? And I actually got scared and opened my eyes, and I remember very clearly falling back into my body. So then I mentioned this to my father, and he said, why don't you watch Shri M on YouTube? And I think the first set of videos I watched of yours was related to the mechanics of the brain. I think there's a brain surgeon that was closely associated with you. There were like 3 videos. I watched that, and then there came the autobiography. And
if I may interrupt,
yes,
what
sir.
are you doing in life now?
Sir, I live in Sydney, sir, and then
In Sydney.
yes, sir.
You haven't met me before.
No, sir. No, sir.
What do you do there?
So I work in the commercial team in construction.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to ask, you said your parents were connected to some spiritual person
Yes, sir.
who had no banner
No,
or anything.
yes.
So, who is this?
So
Curious.
the first guru, his name was Baba Lakshman Swami. I think he was realized at the age of 8 because Revan Nath appeared in front of him. They say there's just a prayer and that says
So
that.
where did he belong to?
Associated with the Nath Sampradaya through Revan Nath.
Okay.
Yes, and then his disciple was Bhau Panduranga Swami Maharaj, who was my father's first guru, and he took samadhi in 1999, and he transferred his consciousness
But
to.
you have met him?
Yes, sir. Yes, I was very young at the time, but he took samadhi in '99, and he transferred his
How
consciousness.
many times did you meet?
So I cannot
No,
say how
roughly.
many times. So I'm not, and I don't know of the exact numbers, but I think I was associated with them.
Maybe
till I was-
something happened without your knowing.
So could be. I think maybe there's some people call it Kurma Diksha. Maybe that happened. I don't know.
Sometimes people plant a seed, right?
Yeah.
It takes years for that seed to sprout. Depend on the proper conditions, then only it sprouts. So probably something is there.
So could be. So, but
Otherwise,
yes.
it just can't suddenly happen
So-
without a reason.
Yes, sir. So that, when that happened, I was like, okay, there's no denying this. There is something. I don't understand the nature of what it is and why it is.
Why should you understand?
So that's where the search began. And then, of course, I've done a lot of experiments and some strange things have happened. But yes, but, thank you, sir.
Actually, I like to be surrounded by strange people. This was just an informal introduction so that you know what you're going in for and don't have any illusions about it. And then we will move forward. Huh? And please be free to discuss with me if others don't object. Because somebody why discussing only with one person. So there are so many people, I can't always, but we'll try our best to keep this going.
Namaste, sir. Just the one question is that, of course, I have read your autobiography where predominantly your experiences have been in the heart center. So, just wanted to understand if the heart center and the Agya are one and the same. You have explained it, but I just.
We will discuss this
will
tomorrow.
discuss it. Yeah. Thank you.
Technical question. So thank you very much. We'll keep running into each other the next 2 days.